Hello everyone, I'm MBZ. Welcome to Game Take. So I had a dream this week about Breath of the Wild, because it's impending, it's happening, so obviously I'm going to dream about playing it. It was really weird. I was at the end of the world, and there was a big ocean, and underneath like this cracked ridge there was this giant octopus. It wasn't really a Zelda octopus, it was just an octopus. And then I went down into this cave, and Mario was there, and Mario taught me how to jump. Apart from it wasn't just jumping, it was like a kind of Ratchet and Clank jump where the animation kind of flops about and then you grab the edge and go up on the edge. So Mario taught me how to grab an edge in Zelda. So I hope that's what Breath of the Wild is, because I want to play that game now. In any case, Zelda has been a big part of the news this week as the announcement of the DLC that is coming. An expansion pass, a season pass, if you will. I like this thing that Nintendo does where they're like, no, we're not going to use the intended verbiage that everyone else does. We're not using season pass. We're going to call it an expansion pass, you know, like how they call free to play, free to start and all that stuff. Find it a cute thing that they do to try and distance themselves from maybe some of the negative word of mouth that comes around those terms. But nevertheless, we have to compare this to other season passes and other things other companies have done, because this seems like the most traditional industry thing Nintendo has done in a while. And there are a lot of things to break down about it. It costs $20, which seems like a fair price depending on what you want out of it. But it's the split between what you get that kind of is breaking people down. So when you buy it, if you pre-order it and get it straight away, you get a Nintendo Switch t-shirt that Link can wear running around, and then 2 other items in the Great Plateau, which we don't know what those are, so buying that sight unseen is a little bit iffy. And then you have the first content pack, which includes a quote-unquote hard mode, and a Cave of Trials, as well as an additional map feature. All of these very vague. We don't really know anything about those. And then finally the meat, which is the second pack, is a brand new dungeon, a brand new story, and some more challenge stuff. So really, that's what most people want, right? But Nintendo are only allowing you to buy the whole thing. Now, I don't know by the time we get to December that will necessarily be the case, because the first thing will be out. Do you want to have just the second thing? Do you want to offer customers an option? Maybe they'll do it by then. But for now, they're sticking to it as one thing. That kind of sucks, because if you look at it objectively, and we don't know all the details, obviously, but looking at it right now, there are a lot of things that rub me the wrong way about this DLC. First of all, the Nintendo Switch shirt, which just, I get that it's something silly, and I think it would fit better in a game like Splatoon as opposed to Zelda, where that is kind of the idea. You have fashion stuff and it's kind of more fourth wall breaking. This just kind of kills my immersion, you know? It's the sort of thing where Zelda is this crafted, created world with exploration and a narrative that you want to get invested in, and Link just wandering around wearing a Switch shirt just seems really stupid and just takes you out the experience. And then you of course have the case of the hard mode and the Cave of Trials. Cave of Trials, which has been in Wind Waker and Twilight Princess. I'm not sure if there was a Skyward Sword one, but there was a version in Link Between Worlds. Like, this is a core tenet of the franchise that has been in a lot of iterations, and now they're charging for it? Something seems wrong there. And then the other thing is of course the hard mode, which, if this is just a hero mode, then that's also been in very recent Zeldas. So there's a lot of problems here, and there's a potential that it could all work out, that the Cave of Trials is something more expansive, that this hard mode is more of a master quest than a hard mode, or perhaps a second quest like the original Legend of Zelda. But with all this in mind, I'm a little bit shaky. Like, I'm excited that there's new dungeon and new story coming. I wish I could buy that separately. I wish that it was priced accordingly and that everything would work out. But we're going to have to wait, because quite honestly, we don't know enough right now. Next up is Microsoft, who have decided to announce the date and time of their E3 press conference, which has changed. And that's the interesting thing about this. Microsoft had traditionally gone on Monday, 9 AM Pacific time. They're usually the first people to go. That was until Bethesda came and kind of ate their lunch and were like, hey, we're doing Sunday now. So E3 turned from this kind of weekend thing, like bleeding into the Monday, and now Microsoft are one-upping Bethesda. They're going before them even. Bethesda again having a conference, the third year in a row they're doing them, and now Microsoft going to be at 2 PM Pacific time, which is just about early enough for me to stay awake and watch it. The thing with Bethesda's one is it's so late, and I also am not really a Bethesda fan. I don't really care about their games, so I don't usually stay up for that one. But this Microsoft one I can watch, and it's really interesting. I think the core tenet here is that Microsoft are going to have much better word of mouth and own the new story of the day, right? Because every time on Monday they do their thing in the morning, and then by the evening, the only thing people are talking about is Sony, right? So Sony basically take away the limelight for the rest of that day. They have a lot of momentum going forward into E3, and Microsoft is sometimes left in kind of the back, you know, the public perception is maybe skewed somewhat. And I think that them going a bit earlier, having more time to breathe, being able to announce Scorpio stuff, because that's happening, that's going to be a big deal this year. So Microsoft really need it to themselves, and I think they made a smart move by going on Sunday, distancing themselves from Sony, and having the ability to kind of get surprises out there first, because sometimes, you know, you have, surprises ruined perhaps by Ubisoft and EA. That usually is more to do with Sony's conference, actually, because they go last, but it still applies to some degree to Microsoft, especially with Bethesda in the past couple of years going before them. So at this point, I think it's smart and it will make sense, and man, E3 is warping into some weird stuff right now. It's really changed. Finally, and perhaps most weirdly this week, the Nintendo Switch UI leaked. Kind of. So there was this guy on NeoGAF who was posting in the thread saying, hey, I have a Switch at home, and people are calling them out on his bullshit, as rightly they would, because unless you're part of the press, or unless you're part of, you know, Nintendo coming around and showing off the Switch right now, you don't have access to one, right? But this guy did somehow, and people are like, well, okay, prove it. Show us that you really have the Nintendo Switch. And so he did. He took a video of the UI of the Switch, which showed, among other things, that it has the ability to do different themes. You can have your photo album storage and everything. To be honest, it wasn't super exciting, and maybe this is why Nintendo haven't really been making a big deal of it, because it's the most simplistic thing right now, and aside from a day one update which adds the eShop functionality, there's not really anything there that is beyond what you expect and are bare essentials. There doesn't seem to be any kind of trophy or achievement system, which I think people in the know probably understood that was never going to happen, especially if you take a look at My Nintendo and the way that that is built, especially towards their mobile apps, and you can earn coins and things. So I think that that is probably going to be the way they end up doing it in the long run. But a lot of basic stuff. But it's good to see, because, I don't know, Nintendo for some reason just haven't shown this stuff off, and I liked having a look at it and being able to gauge, like, this is how I'm going to be able to use my Switch, and how swiftly the UI navigates, and the ability to use the touchscreen, the capacitive touchscreen, to kind of get around. Some people are talking about how it's weird how you have to like double click things. That's maybe a bit antithetical to the way phones work, but I don't know if that's an option you can turn off. It could be something potentially down the line they implement. I just want to see some folders, man. Folders, right? That's the big thing. Wii U and 3DS. Very cool feature. Of course, you're not going to need them at launch, but something I would like to see later down the line. But yeah, it was really weird. Apparently now it's been taken back by Nintendo because it was supposedly stolen, and he got it through some weird means, and he hasn't really expanded on it. It's a bit of a mess, to be honest. But thank you, guy on NeoGAF. Hip Hop the Robot was his name, in fact. And I was actually on the thread while this was happening, and we were all going crazy. It was kind of insane. But hey, there you go. We know what it looks like now, so I guess that's one less thing we need to worry about before the Switch launches. And with that, we're going to close things out for Game Take this week. Thank you everyone for watching. Let me know what you think of these stories down below, and I'll see you next week. Some more video game things and stuff. Goodbye.